Ethiopia's history has had a powerful influence on modern Africa, both symbolically and politically. Here's how. 1. Ancient civilization and statehood. Deep in the Horn of Africa, nestled within rugged highlands and fertile valleys, lies the cradle of an ancient and enduring civilization. The story of Ethiopia is not just a history of a nation, but a testament to the profound depth of African statehood stretching back into the mists of time. Long before the rise of its most famous empire, the groundwork was laid by the enigmatic kingdom of Dempt in the first millennium BC, a sophisticated society that already engaged in complex agriculture and trade, leaving behind mysterious temples like the one at Yeha. From these foundations rose the mighty kingdom of Aksum, which flourished from the 1st to the 7th century AD. Strategically positioned to command the vital trade routes of the Red Sea, Aksum became a global powerhouse, a crucial link connecting the Roman Empire with the distant riches of India and Arabia. Its ports bustled with merchants trading in ivory, gold, emeralds, and exotic spices for Roman textiles, glassware, and metals. This was no mere trading post. Aksum was a cosmopolitan empire of immense wealth and influence. The Aksumite kings minted their own currency in gold, silver, and bronze, a clear declaration of their sovereignty on the world stage. Their engineering prowess is immortalized in the giant single-stone stelae that still pierce the sky over the city of Aksum. These colossal obelisks, some towering over 30 meters high, served as grand markers for the tombs of their rulers, symbols of a civilization that could command immense resources and organize labor on a monumental scale. This legacy of a powerful centralized state did not vanish with Aksum's decline. It evolved. The torch of civilization was passed to the Zagwe dynasty, who famously carved a New Jerusalem from the living rock at Lalibela, and then to the Solomonic dynasty, which claimed direct lineage from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. This remarkable, near unbroken line of indigenous governance, spanning millennia, provided a powerful counter-narrative to the colonial-era myth of a stateless Africa awaiting European arrival to build nations. Ethiopia stood as a living, breathing refutation of this ideology, a sovereign entity with a rich, complex, and continuous history of statehood that shaped a fierce sense of independence and a unique national identity that endures to this day. 1. Christianity and Islam in Africa. Just as Ethiopia was a crossroads for trade, it became a profound crossroads of faith. Its ancient history is uniquely interwoven with the early narratives of both Christianity and Islam, establishing a legacy of religious significance that resonates across the continent. In the 4th century, under the rule of King Ezana of Aksum, the kingdom officially adopted Christianity. The story tells of Frumentius, a young Syrian Christian who was shipwrecked on the Red Sea coast and brought to the royal court. He gained the king's trust, and his teachings led to Ezana's conversion, making Aksum one of the very first Christian nations in the world, predating most of Europe. This gave birth to the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, a faith with deeply unique traditions. Its liturgy still uses the ancient Ge'ez language, and its practices are rich with ancient symbolism. Most famously, the church claims to be the guardian of the most sacred relic in Judeo-Christian tradition, the Ark of the Covenant, said to be housed in a small chapel in Aksum. Remarkably, just as Christianity was taking deep root in the Ethiopian highlands, the nation played a pivotal role in the nascent history of Islam. In the early 7th century, as the Prophet Muhammad and his first followers faced persecution in Mecca, he advised them to seek refuge across the sea in Aksum, describing its Christian king as a just and righteous ruler under whom no one was wronged. The Aksumite king, Ashama ibn Abjar, welcomed the Muslim refugees, granting them protection and freedom to practice their faith. This event, known as the First Hijra, or migration, is a cornerstone of Islamic history, establishing a foundational moment of peaceful interfaith coexistence. It marked the first time Islam found a peaceful home outside of Arabia, and the Al-Najashi Mosque, built in honor of the king, stands today in Tigray as a monument to this historic sanctuary. This dual heritage created a complex and fascinating religious landscape. For centuries, the Christian kingdom of the highlands and the Muslim sultanates of the lowlands and coastal areas coexisted, traded, and sometimes clashed, weaving a rich tapestry of cultural and religious exchange. This long and intricate history of interaction between two of the world's great religions, born from moments of sanctuary and conversion, has profoundly shaped the identity of Ethiopia and the entire Horn of Africa. It is a legacy of faith that is not just written in ancient texts, but is carved into the mountainsides, celebrated in vibrant festivals, and lived out in the daily lives of its people. 1. Resistance to colonization. As the 19th century drew to a close, the scramble for Africa was in full force. At the Berlin Conference, European powers partitioned the continent, drawing lines on maps that ignored millennia of history. But one ancient nation would defy this colonial ambition, charting its own course and becoming a global legend of sovereignty. The catalyst for conflict was the 1889 Treaty of Wuchal, signed between Ethiopia and Italy. A crucial and deliberate discrepancy in the document laid the groundwork for war. The Amharic version outlined a partnership, allowing Ethiopia to use Italian diplomatic channels. The Italian version, however, contained a clause that deceitfully rendered Ethiopia an Italian protectorate. When Emperor Menelik II discovered this treachery, he and the formidable Empress Tetu Batul, a brilliant strategist in her own right, unequivocally rejected Italy's claim. Faced with imminent invasion, Menelik II issued a powerful call to arms that resonated across the empire's diverse regions. From Shua to Tigray, from the highlands to the lowlands, an army of over 100,000 soldiers, armed with a mix of traditional and modern weapons, answered the call. It was a monumental display of national unity against a common existential threat, a nation rising as one. On March 1, 1896, near the town of Adwa, the Ethiopian forces confronted the technologically superior Italian army. Under the masterful command of Menelik, Taitu, and their generals, they utilized their intimate knowledge of the mountainous terrain, superior numbers, and brilliant intelligence gathering. The result was a crushing and decisive blow. The Battle of Adwa was a world-shaking victory, forcing Italy to recognize Ethiopia's absolute independence and shattering the pervasive myth of European invincibility. 1. Symbol of Pan-Africanism. News of the victory at Adwa sent shockwaves across the globe. For colonized peoples everywhere, particularly those of African descent, it was a profound source of pride and a powerful counter-narrative to the racist ideologies of the era. Ethiopia was no longer just a nation. It had become a living symbol of black agency, strength, and the tangible possibility of freedom. This victory became a foundational pillar of the burgeoning Pan-African movement. Early black intellectuals and activists pointed to Ethiopia as living proof that self-governance was not a gift to be granted by colonizers, but an inherent right to be defended. As a testament to this legacy, Ethiopia's flag, green, gold, and red, was adopted by numerous emerging African nations upon their independence. Its capital, Addis Ababa, would later become the headquarters of the Organization of African Unity, cementing its role as the political and symbolic heart of a liberated continent. Beyond Africa, Ethiopia's sovereignty resonated deeply within the African diaspora. In the Caribbean and the Americas, where generations had endured the brutalities of slavery and systemic racism, Ethiopia stood as a beacon of hope, an ancestral homeland that had never bowed to foreign rule. It was a spiritual and political anchor, a promised land in the collective imagination. This reverence found its most potent expression in the Rastafari movement, which emerged in Jamaica in the 1930s. Drawing on biblical prophecies, many saw the 1930 coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie, whose birth name was Rastafari Makanan, as a divine event. They viewed him as a messianic figure, the living embodiment of God and a symbol of black liberation. His lineage, traced back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, further solidified his sacred status. When he addressed the League of Nations in 1936 to protest Italy's second invasion, his powerful words against injustice echoed globally, immortalized decades later in Bob Marley's anthem, War. This moment forever linked Ethiopia's historic struggle to the universal fight for human rights and dignity, cementing its status as an enduring symbol of resistance for all oppressed people. 1. Founding role in the African Union. As the winds of change swept across Africa in the early 1960s, newly independent nations sought a unified voice on the world stage. They needed a place to forge this new identity, a capital for a continent finding its freedom. That place was Addis Ababa. At the heart of this movement was Emperor Haile Selassie. Drawing on Ethiopia's unique legacy as an uncolonized nation, he convened the historic 1963 summit. In a powerful address, he urged African leaders to set aside their differences and lay the groundwork for a united future. His vision became a reality. In that very hall, the Organization of African Unity, or OAU, was born. Addis Ababa, a city that had long symbolized African resistance and sovereignty, was unanimously chosen as its permanent headquarters. This cemented Ethiopia's role as the political capital of Africa. In 2002, the OAU evolved into the African Union, or AU, broadening its mandate to include economic integration, peace, and security. Today, the impressive AU headquarters is a constant reminder of Ethiopia's pivotal role in fostering continental diplomacy. 1. Cultural identity and pride. But Ethiopia's leadership wasn't just political, it was also profoundly cultural. While many nations grappled with the legacy of colonial influence, Ethiopia stood as a powerful testament to the endurance of indigenous traditions, providing a source of immense pride for Africans across the continent. Central to this identity is its unique writing system, Ge'ez. As one of the oldest alphabets in the world still in active use, this ancient script is not a relic of the past. It is the living language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church and the foundation for modern languages like Amharic and Tigrinya, carrying millennia of history, literature, and faith into the present day. Ethiopia literally moves to its own rhythm, following a unique calendar with 13 months. Based on ancient astronomical calculations and deeply intertwined with its religious heritage, the Ethiopian calendar runs 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian system. This distinct way of marking time is a daily expression of the nation's independent path and its deep-rooted cultural confidence. This independence fostered a remarkable diversity. Beyond the official language of Amharic, over 80 distinct languages are spoken, each representing a unique cultural thread in the rich national tapestry. This fierce preservation of its heritage directly challenged the colonial-era notion that modernization required abandoning African roots. Ethiopia proved that a nation could embrace progress and global engagement without sacrificing its soul. From its vibrant contemporary art scene to its world-renowned music and cuisine, Ethiopia's unique identity is not just maintained. It is a dynamic and evolving force, demonstrating a powerful model of African modernity built on an ancient foundation. In summary, Ethiopia shaped modern Africa by serving as a living symbol of independence, a leader in Pan-African unity, and a reminder of Africa's deep civilizations. It gave Africans a historic example of sovereignty, resistance, and cultural resilience that still influences the continent today.